We can move to school, bebe. Na kosa la kukusanya na kutoa mali ama huduma kwa ajili ya utekelezaji wa vitendo vya kikaidi kinyume na sheria ambayo inashughulikia kuzuia matukio ya kikaidi ambayo kwa lugha ya Kimombo inaitwa the Prevention of Terrorism Act. Maelezo ni kwamba wewe Mariam Ali Abdalla mnamo tarehe 22 mwezi wa 8 mwaka uliopita katika sehemu isiyojulikana ndani humu nchini Kenya, ukishirikiana na wengine ambao hawajaweza kuwakilishwa hapa mahakamani, ulipokea shilingi 1,000 kupitia simu ya mkononi, nambari ya simu ikiwa ni 0700527608 ambayo imesajiliwa kwa jina lako na kutumia nambari yako ya kitambulisho, na ulipokea pesa hizo kutoka kwenye shirika linalojulikana kama Binance, ambalo ni shirika linalofanya kazi ya kutuma pesa na kupokea pesa kupitia kwenye mtandao, na mwenye akaunti iliyokutumia pesa hizo kutumia huo mtandao wa Binance, account number ya mwenye kutuma pesa ni ID number 944548423, na akaunti yenyewe inasemekana kwamba ni akaunti ambayo inatumika na kikosi cha kikaidi kinachojulikana kama Islamic State ama IS East Africa, na inasemekana kwamba ulipokea pesa hizo kwa minajili ya kuzitumia kutekeleza kitendo cha kikaidi. Kosa hilo jinsi nimelisoma na kulieleza limeeleweka? Sasa hiyo akaunti ambayo ilituma hizo pesa ilikuwa ni akaunti ambayo inamilikiwa na kikundi cha kikaidi ambacho kinajulikana kama Islamic State East Africa, na kwamba pesa hizo zilikuwa za kutekeleza kitendo cha kikaidi. Kosa hilo jinsi nimelisoma, umeelewa? Ni kweli au sio?
Application was made. The state had already served an affidavit in opposition dated that of December 2025, sworn by number 92768 to Victor.
Are we following? Is Mr. Nando following the proceedings? Yes, Mr. Nando.
Victor Gitonga. Yona, we wish to respond and adopt the said affidavit in totality, sworn by the investigating officer and the custodian of facts in this matter. The custodian of facts tells you that the accused person is not suitable for bail and bond terms, and that there are compelling reasons as to why she should not be admitted, as contained at paragraph number 6 all the way to paragraph number 13, Your Honor, to paragraph number 19, which we submit are compelling reasons enough, Your Honor, to deny bail based on the judiciary bail and bond policy. You're being told that this matter is in relation to forensic exhibits. And that the accused person before you has been confirmed to have received monies from a named ID Binance account operated by the Islamic State's East African cell, and the money was wired directly to her number registered in her own national identity card. The bail and bond policy requests this court to consider the evidence and the likelihood, Your Honor, of the compellability of that evidence. And as the defense counsel began to say where the source of the money is, properly admitting that the transaction happened and disputing the reason for the transaction. That legitimizes a portion of the prosecution's case before this court and the connection between the money and the number belonging to the accused person. Your Honor, you've also been told, although it was cut short by the court, a very valid argument where the defense insists that due to the amount, which was meager, according to them, a lenient bond term should be granted. Your Honor, in response to that, we wish to submit that terrorism financing, based on the laws the charges have been brought under, is not only a domestic issue when it comes to Kenya, but an international issue, and Kenya has an obligation to ensure that terrorism financing matters are investigated, prosecuted, and sanctions given if conviction is upheld, Your Honor, to the highest standard of punishment that should be granted. The law provides for up to 20 years in both count 1 and 2. And Your Honor, being an international issue, Kenya, under the FATF recommendations, and I refer to recommendation number 5, the International Terrorist Financing Convention criminalizes any basis for terrorism financing without considering the amount involved. Your Honor, I submit that sanctions for the terrorism financing are therefore not based on the monetary value of the funds, but rather on the seriousness of the underlying risks and threats posed by the same TF transaction. Your Honor, the convention names this, and equally the FATF mandates, Your Honor, every country, including Kenya, to take that approach known as the risk-based approach, which is placed at the core of the international standard set by FATF. Kenya has been grey listed. Kenya has been assessed, and a national risk assessment noted that Kenya risk profile is on moving of funds and also usage of funds in the country to support terrorist actors and organizations. The case before you, Your Honor, and we will be demonstrating at the hearing, is about moving of funds belonging to terrorists and usage of funds, Your Honor, to facilitate radicalization, recruitment, and facilitating travel of recruits from Kenya and Tanzania to Somali to join Al-Shabaab. It therefore doesn't matter the amount that any single individual transacts, but the cumulative damage that money is capable of doing. You're not just purchasing bundles to talk to a terrorist actor through Telegram by usage of 10 shillings attracts up to 20 years. Therefore, we submit that the values or monetary values indicated at count number 1 and 2 should not be a factor, Your Honor, to be considered, but rather the threat the said transaction poses to the country and the national security. Your Honor, you're being told at paragraph number 13, their accused persons and their associates, both in court and at large, that are being pursued, and therefore releasing the accused person before you on both terms would jeopardize, Your Honor, that operation, that investigation, and finally to successfully counter this vice of terrorism financing, Your Honor, that we'll be intending to show through evidence how they participated. That is the paramount consideration, Your Honor. As I leave it to my colleagues, Your Honor, to submit on other limbs, since the state has the burden to show the compelling grounds, Your Honor, I submit that terrorism is already considered a very serious offense. Kenya having suffered from terrorism, the United Nations Security Council, through its resolution 1267, resolution number 1988, requires matters TF to be considered very seriously and for the nation to offer circumstances that will enable a proper investigative and prosecution process without interferences. To safeguard that, Your Honor, we submit that the respondent, whether working for KDF or any other organ in the country, should remain in custody to avoid interferences with people not already arrested and witnesses who are yet to testify, Your Honor. Some of the witnesses who've come before you in miscellaneous applications. So we so submit, Your Honor, as Ms. Gashero proceeds.
Further, Your Honor, ground is the likelihood of interference with witnesses. Your Honor, we believe counsel has stated that this money was received from, as quoted, was received from the son. Also, Your Honor, we can already clearly see there is connection with people who may be witnesses in this case. They have already established there is a relationship, Your Honor. Therefore, Your Honor, the likelihood of interference is quite serious. Your Honor, in terms, Your Honor, Professor, in the said Frederick Oleleliman and 4 others, it was outlined, Your Honor, further that Your Honor, it was outlined that the interference of witnesses is highly potent, a highly potent ground on which the accused may be refused bail. It's a reasonable and justifiable limitation of right to liberty. Your Honor, further, a democratic society has a way of safeguarding administration of justice is a cardinal tenet in the criminal justice and social justice, and therefore, Your Honor, it quite safeguards that the rights of one person should not override the issues of the state, Your Honor. We have a serious case here. This is a case of high-risk terrorism financing. This is something we have been dealing with, Your Honor, and we need to treat it as serious as it is, Your Honor. Therefore, Your Honor, we pray that you're going to look into the issue of interference of witnesses and the seriousness of the charges before you. Further, Your Honor, we need to look into the issue of obstruction of the cause of justice. This is a case that we need to protect, safeguard, Your Honor. And therefore, in the interim, before the matter is presented before court, before the evidence is presented before court. We pray that the court will allow us to secure the witnesses, to secure the evidence, to ensure that the case is solved. The issue of bail and bond can be addressed at a later stage. But Your Honor, at this time, it's very sensitive, and we pray that the said bail and bond be denied at this point. Your Honor, also the other compelling reasons is as to whether the accused person is going to attend court, whether they are going to be presented before court if released. They have mentioned that the accused person is an employee. However, they have not presented any documentation to prove this. We are yet, Your Honor, to ascertain her place of residence, the fixed abode, Your Honor. These are things that are needed to be established, Your Honor. They claim she's a Kenyan, and she's been living here for quite some time, but they have not presented any evidence, Your Honor. Allow the court, allow the investigators time to secure all this information so that we are able to ensure that they are going to be able to trace this accused person. Your Honor, we submit that bail and bond is an agreement between the court and the accused person. However, the investigators are also part of it, because they are required to pursue the accused persons if they abscond. Therefore, Your Honor, there is need to secure all this information before they are released, Your Honor. Your Honor, this offense goes into the issue of public interest. The issue of public interest, Your Honor. It goes into the issue of national security, and in order to secure the security of the public, we need to look into this issue. The rights of one person cannot override the rights of every peace-loving Kenyan. This is, Your Honor, these are some of the compelling reasons as to why we need the said accused person to be held in custody. Further, Your Honor, this is an ongoing case. Investigations are ongoing. We have been receiving accused persons, respondents being brought for the last 2 weeks. Your Honor, it shows that there is a network. And in order to secure the integrity of the investigations, we need to have the accused person held in custody to avoid them tipping off their accomplices. There are more people to be arrested and more charges to be preferred. Your Honor, investigations into the forensic and the electronic gadgets have already established that there is communication with persons suspected to have been recruited. Your Honor, this is something that is still being investigated. These are persons that are of interest. And hence the need to have the accused person held in custody. Your Honor, as I conclude, we wish for the court to note that the strength of the prosecution's case, a multi-agency has been pursuing these investigations. This is an international investigations where several jurisdictions come together to investigate this. Your Honor, we have a very strong case which we will present before you at the time of the hearing. And we pray that you look into that as you consider whether to grant bail or bond. Yes, Your Honor. I believe that we have presented solid grounds upon which the court can consider and come to a conclusion that the accused person should be held in custody as we present our case before you, Your Honor.